I want everyone to pause, take a deep breath, clear your mind so you can think clearly, and put a special emphasis on removing all false pride. Jesus in the Bible is just that. G says, Serapis. The Bible is by Baal. He is superimposed on the hero Son of God, the Alpha hero Son of God. What basically is taking place is the Jews basically worship Elohim, right? The gods, plural. And Yah perhaps is the one that expresses itself the most. Jesus comes along and says, stop leaving this capstone empty and let him be the Messiah and bring you into this kind of Roman, kind of Semitic mix. Okay. That is pretty much his argument. This is why he gets along with Pilate and says Pilate is divinely ordained to rule, which ultimately it is something that God has allowed and not that God wants him to rule. Okay. So first of all, let's consider the statement, he is the root and offspring of David and the bright morning star. Well, once we put the bright morning star in its proper context, we see what's going on here. The sun is ultimately the true bright morning star, but Venus has been given this name in the West, and ultimately the Jews are part of the Roman Empire, the greater Roman Empire at the time. So we must consider both these interpretations. Basically, he's superimposing Venus, which is also compared to Ishtar and ultimately to Aphrodite, on the idea of the sun. It's a gender-neutral superimposition, imposing himself. Okay? So he's saying he is the root and offspring of David. What is the root and offspring of David? We must consider Joseph and Moses. Moses marries a Cushite wife. Joseph has the priestess of On, who's some kind of mixed African priestess. Ultimately, their ultimate root is the African martial art order and is ultimately God through the African martial art order. So what he's saying is that the female offspring of the African martial art order in some kind of basic mix is who he is claiming to be. Okay. There's several problems here. Number one, it is biblical patriarchs. Moses, okay, Abraham, right? Abraham, Moses, okay, Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, Moses, okay, David, Solomon, Jesus. So by default, he is not the authentic Son of God. He is the son of sages and twists, because he's the son of females that chose to betray the martial art order and to breed with the Jews. Asenath, Joseph's wife, the daughter of the high priest of On, and Moses' Cushite wife. Okay? He is the offspring of these people. It is like I have a sister and she betrays my family, and then somebody says, I am the root and the offspring of the family. No, you're not. She's a traitor, survivor. Serve I veer. Serve I veer. You went somewhere else with it, went another way with it. This is part of why the Jews reject him, but they're also evil as well. The Elohim, El, the father of Baal. Elohim, El meaning Lord. The Bible is by Baal. We can't just throw out El as an idea. We have to do our research. We can't just throw out Baal as an idea. We have to do our research. We can't just throw out Venus. We have to say, is their explanation more like this, or is it more like the morality that our heart knows comes from God if our heart is in the right place? What is the true moral of the story? Who gave us the book? What did they believe? They merged these cults together, mainstream history. They would worship Christianity, the Christian deities and the same deities, and the same temples as other deities. Mainstream history, they merged the pagan holidays with Christianity. We have every reason to believe that the Bible is misleading us. Not a single logical reason to believe that it's not, other than how people feel and what kind of clarity they have, right? What kind of mental clarity do they have? They don't have the same mental clarity as I do. I can see what they're saying, and I can see where they're wrong, and I live in reality. Morality. More reality. Okay? God is righteousness and truth. Not just the first book that the colonists hand us. Generations of colonists. The Greek colonized. The Romans colonized. Okay? Here comes the British and the French and the Spanish. These guys say, we have this book. Believe our book, our compilation, our interpretation. After their ancestors and the people whose ideas they stole had betrayed the first Pharaoh who actually walked in the light. focusing on the pure principles of good. Why would God say, I don't care if you're the natural alpha, focusing on the pure principles of good. I'm going to listen to these people who were in Phoenicia, these Canaanite people who plugged kids in the ass. Why would God do that? He wouldn't. Why didn't Joseph reject the priestess of On? He didn't. Why didn't he reject his position in Egypt if it was so bad? He didn't. No one is good but God alone. He said, why do you call me good? He said, I'm not from the martial art line. He's a liar. He's a liar. He's a con man. He's a con whore. Khonsu. Yah, La, Khonsu. Moon deities. Amen. Amun. A moon deity. Ishtar. The Bible is by Baal. Byblos. The lady of Byblos. Balat. They're giving you every reason to know when you do your due diligence that this book is invalid. It is a sage book. Revelations reveal the Ashun. Cursed are the revelers. All right. So the heart is the seat of intelligence. Love the Lord thy God with all thy mind, all thy body, all thy soul, all thy heart. Something to this effect. The heart. What does your heart tell you when you see this book? What are you moved to do and why? Your heart. Your heart beat. The blood flow, circulation, exercise. Exercise a demon. Diet and deity. Who do you worship? That's why they drug people like me, because it's like, rah, I'm going to do God's work and I won't conform. Rah, it's inside of us. They say, no, he needs to be drugged down so he acts like a sheep, which is an animal that clings onto the earth fanatically. I don't want any trouble. David was chosen, not a sheep. He went straight for trouble with heart. He didn't graze. It isn't the spirit of being nice. It is the spirit of God. It is the spirit of righteousness and clashing with evil. When the sun hits the earth, here comes the food that you eat. The grass, the grain. Incidentally, the bread was a symbol of heart. Jesus is the image of Serapis, who's a snake. Because Enki, who is also a shepherd, who's also traced and can be, you can extract the Sumerian mysteries from the Greco-Roman mysteries. Okay? The shepherds. Romulus and Remus, and there's a long story. We can connect shepherds to these stories. Okay? He was a deity of magic, semen, fertility, trickery, mischief. Enki, En meaning Lord. Very similar to the word El, E-L-E-N. End, E-N-D. So basically the Spirit of God is a warrior spirit of accepting your punishment. Like it says in Hebrews, resisting to the point of shedding your blood. He superimposed himself on the idea to confuse you. Set replaces Abel. Bible. Don't you see what's going on here? He said, I am the root and offspring of David and the bright morning star. But how are you the root and the offspring? Through the woman, not the man. Virgin Mary. That's how you're claiming divinity, through a woman. When it is the man, and everyone knows it. RNA expression. The natural alpha. That's why he's a tall, skinny beta. He may as well be a midget on stilts. You came to bring a sword when I would cut you down in a split second. Because I'm in the true spirit of God. David, the guy you claim your heritage from, didn't reject that argument. He faced Goliath. He said, on this day I will cut off your head with a sword.